Hey everyone, and welcome. So, today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to learn some really essential German vocabulary by following the entire story of a relationship, from the very first hello all the way through making plans and how people actually communicate. Let's jump right in. And that's a great question, right? Because building a connection in a language that's not your own, it's about more than just feelings. You have to have the right words for the right moment. So that's what we're going to do. We'll walk through that whole journey, giving you the exact vocabulary you need step by step. Okay, so every story has a beginning. And for us, it starts with that first hello, that first moment you meet someone. Let's look at the words you absolutely need to know to get a conversation started. And there's a really logical order to this. It all begins with kennenlernen. That's ken, nen, ler, nen, which is the desire to get to know someone. From there, you have to sich vorstellen. Sich vorstellen. You introduce yourself. And hey, if that goes well, you've officially made der Kontakt. Der Kontakt. You've established contact. Now, this next part is super important in German culture, knowing when to use the informal du versus the formal sie. The verb for using du is duzen, duzen. That's for your friends, your family. It creates closeness. On the other hand, you have sitzen, sitzen, which is for formal situations, strangers, or when you want to show respect. Honestly, getting this right can make or break a first impression. So, let's say the first meeting went great. What do you have? Well, they're not quite a friend yet, but they are a bekannte, an acquaintance. It's the perfect word for that in-between stage, and it's the perfect bridge to our next chapter. All right, now things start to get interesting. We're moving beyond just being acquaintances. This is where feelings start to grow, and we trace that journey from a simple like all the way to real trust and love. It almost always starts with this one simple word, mogen, which sounds like moojin. It just means to like. Simple as that. You might like a new coworker, or a song, or a friend of a friend. It's a starting block for any positive relationship. But what happens when like just doesn't cut it anymore? Then you might find yourself verliebt sein. Now, this isn't just liking someone. This is that giddy, butterflies in your stomach feeling of being in love. It's way more intense, way more passionate. And that brings us to the big one, lieben, to love. This is that deep, stable, profound feeling. It's the foundation of the strongest relationships you have, and it's a really powerful word you save for the people who matter most. So you've got this powerful feeling, but what's it actually made of? What holds it all together? Well, a strong bond is built on die Freundschaft, friendship. It absolutely needs vertrauen, which is trust. You spend time and do things gemeinsam, together. And when you have all that, you can say, you eine Beziehung haben. And maybe you'll even decide to zusammenleben, to live together. Okay, enough with the mushy stuff. A relationship isn't just about feelings, right? It's also about, it's a lot of planning. How do you actually see each other? This part is all about the practical side of things, making appointments, plans, and arrangements. Let's just break this down. So it all starts with an action. You einladen someone. You invite them. Pretty straightforward. They have two choices. They can annehmen, accept, or they can ablehnen, decline. For something a bit more official, like a doctor's visit, you einen Termin ausmachen. If you both agree on the time, you vereinbaren. But if life gets in the way, you might have to absagen, to cancel. So let's picture how a typical visit plays out from start to finish. It all kicks off with die Einladung, the invitation. Then, for the visit itself, you might vorbeikommen, which just means to stop by or drop in. Maybe you need to go jemanden abholen, that's to pick someone up. And of course, at the end of it all, you have to sich verabschieden. You say your goodbyes. Well, every story has its ups and downs, and relationships are definitely no different. We have to be prepared for when things don't go so well. So let's look at the words you need for the tough times, for when things go wrong. It usually starts with this single, powerful word, der Streit. That's D-E-R-S-T-R-I-T-E. It means the argument, the fight, the disagreement. This is the word that signals things are taking a difficult turn. And when you're in a Streit, some pretty negative things can happen. Someone might lügen, to lie, or they might beleidigen, to insult someone. Naturally, this makes you böse sein, to be angry or mad. And in a worst-case scenario, one person might verlassen the other, which means to leave or even abandon them. Now, if the conflict can't be resolved, the German language has a very clear and kind of logical path for how a relationship ends. First, the couple might sich trennen, to separate. That leads to them getrennt leben, living separately, which results in die Trennung, the actual separation. If they're married, the next step is sich scheiden lassen, to get a divorce. After that's finalized, they are geschieden, divorced. But whether things are going great or you're hitting a rough patch, what's the one thing that matters most? It always comes down to communication. So let's end our journey by looking at the most important vocabulary of all, the words that help us stay connected. It's not just about talking. German has all these different flavors of conversation. You can just sprechen, to speak, or you could erzählen, which is more like telling a story. If you're having a nice back and forth, that's sich unterhalten, to chat. And for a more serious, formal talk, you would diskutieren, to discuss. Each one has its own special feel. And yeah, we can't forget how we actually talk to each other these days, right? You can eine E-Mail schicken, send an email, or eine SMS bekommen, get a text message. But really, the tools don't matter as much as the actions. You have to antworten, to reply. And you need to reagieren, to react. That's how we keep the lines of communication open. So there you have it. We've literally gone through the entire life cycle of a relationship, all in German. We started with kennenlernen, we made a Termin, we talked about lieben and der Streit, and all the different ways we sprechen with one another. And that's it. You now have the vocabulary for building, maintaining, or yes, even ending a connection in German. So the only real question left is, which one of these words are you going to use first?